This is After the Anchor podcast, the vlog edition. We are at the Calico Canyon.
And I'll say your story about it all, and how you're so worried we'll let it fall.
Hey guys, my name is Leslie Wise, and this is After the Anchor podcast, the vlog edition. I have my guest today, Marika Tarian. We are at the Calico Canyon in Las Vegas, Nevada, one of my favorite cities, one of my favorite states to visit. And she's kind of like my hiking guide. But most importantly, she is an artist and an author to a book that I am reading and finishing up. It's called The Undiagnosed Artist. And you can also find her art at Blossom and Bloom.
Blossom and Love.
Blossom and Love, sorry. Yes, but so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Vegas for about 8 years now, and grew up in New Hampshire. I was, just typical path, went to college for biomedical science and kind of fell out of love with the medical system and moved out west to just kind of figure life out. And here we are, 8 years later, full-time artist, author, and I run a nervous system regulation program. I help people stop smoking. I've kind of fallen in love with the entrepreneurship path and just like living life every day for whatever you want to do every day. And so I'm happy to be here with you guys and to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to get some questions asked and some answers answered for my guests, because this is really what After the Anchor podcast is about. It's about getting resources and knowledge from people who have lived through something difficult. They've navigated it and they've found out tips and tricks and ways to make life just a little bit more
A little easier. Not that it's ever easy.
So one of my first questions that I'd like to really get into is, at what point did you go, this is no longer a hobby, I'm gonna make a business out of my art?
I was kind of thrust into it without asking, to be honest with you. I was working a full-time job during COVID. I was selling solar. I was knocking doors like a little psychopath and during a pandemic. And
Love it.
Was not the best version of myself. I extremely high anxiety, panic attacks almost every day, and just like knew I was in the wrong place kind of thing. And I immersed myself in art to try and work through that process, and moved back out to Las Vegas because I just needed to be in the mountains and to get away. And when I came out here, I chose a job that I worked from home. And so I was only working a couple hours a day doing sales. And then I just spent the rest of my time making art, doing markets on the weekends, just getting by here and there as a hobby. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start doing social media. And I decided to take it seriously. And 3 months into posting every day, I had a reel go viral, like over 1 million views, sold out my website, and it never looked back since then. So
That's amazing.
the same week that reel went viral, I actually lost my full-time job. They closed my department. And so it was kind of like, okay, we can go back and get another job, or we can trust that this was supposed to happen. And I trusted the process.
We always hear that. You got to trust the process. We just trust it. Just trust
Easier
it.
said than done, I know.
And it's really not until this year at 43 that I got it. And I know people get it at different ages, but
Yeah.
I just understood it's like, trust the process. It doesn't mean that it's going to be pleasant.
No, entrepreneurship
process
is the
is
hardest process
never-
you can go down.
Yeah, and if it's really pleasant, it's not right.
Yeah.
It's too easy, because it should be kind of like,
You should challenge yourself.
it should challenge us.
But I feel like this path is such a spiritual process. You learn so much about yourself and faith in yourself and faith in who you are as a human and what you have to offer this world, that it really changes your perspective on life. I mean, it's changed my perspective on God and spirituality in general, and really having faith in something for the first time in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you did not grow up with a faith-based childhood. No. So you
No.
found that on your own.
So I grew up very spiritual with my mom, but no like faith
Yeah.
practice necessarily. Like I'm wearing my porcupine quill choker today. I've had this since kindergarten. It's one of my like favorite pieces. I love wearing it. It just kind of brings me back to center. But I grew up going to powwows and stuff, like I grew up very spiritual, and I never related to the word God, I think, until in the past couple of years, and finding a spiritual practice. And really faith in myself is like that spiritual practice that I've discovered along the path. And it's unrelenting faith in yourself. Even when it's not working, like you just have to keep pushing through.
Yeah. It's knowing that you have like a buddy that's doing it with you, but really it's just you. You just have that little buddy that you can lean on, whatever it is, whether it's spirituality or God or Buddha
or your art.
It's just real, or your art. It's just realizing that you have it in you
100%.
and there is something guiding you and it wants to. You just have to be open to like saying, okay, is there something there to help me? And I think there is.
Always is. Yeah.
Well, let's keep on walking and explore this really beautiful. We have to get a capture like of our view over here because it's just gorgeous and I'm excited to keep going.
So is my dog.
Yes. Henna is very excited to keep going. Tell me a bit about your creative space. That feeling that you get when you're planning it, that feeling that you get whenever you're actually in the creative space of it. Is there anything else that you've done throughout your life that replicates that same feeling for you?
That's a good question. I honestly don't think that there is anything else that replicates it. And I never knew I was an artist until COVID happened. And I had a bunch of art supplies and a bunch of time to actually like dive into it.
I read that in your book and you said you had a bunch of craft supplies. I was trying to imagine in my head. And I was like, were these just craft supplies from like when she was at Walmart and she's like, oh, that's clearance. Put it in the cart. Or I'm at Hobby Lobby, put it in the cart. You know what I mean?
Like 3 weeks before the world shut down, my friend Caroline came over and we had plans to go to a music festival later that year.
Fun.
And it's one of those festivals that you bring something to gift to people. It's just like something nice to hand out. And so we were just making silly little trinkets. And she brought all of her resin supplies to my house so that we can make this stuff. And at the end of that session, she was like, you're really good at this. Do you want me to leave it here for you? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so she left it at my house and then the world shut down and I had all these craft supplies and I just kept picking flowers around my house and doing what I can with all the supplies that I had. And boom, 6-figure business, here we go.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So your other, which wasn't a hobby, it was your sport. It was part of your identity for a while. Did that ever kind of replicate that feeling or is it its own little compartment?
Yeah, I think that gymnastics has an artistic ability to it and a perfectionism piece to it, which is what makes me good at my art because I am so detail oriented. But at the same time, it's a whole different category of life, you know what I mean? Like the athleticism and everything that goes into like hyper focusing on a skill. I think that it translates skill to skill, but not necessarily like it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, my mom always used to say like, you love to like do arts and crafts and color and stuff. And like, I don't really remember that ever being the priority. Do you know what I mean? Gymnastics was always the priority.
People try to replicate feelings, and that's why I asked that question, because something that might have meant something to us when we were 18, 19, 20, and we think that's when life was this, or even if it was 25 or 27, and it's like, I've got to get back to my old self. I got to get back to those feelings. And it's like, maybe that's not the path. Sometimes the new path will bring you the same kind of feeling, but in its own little new category.
I think I was on autopilot for most of my life. It wasn't like I was consciously choosing things that meant something to me. I was put in gymnastics at 3 years old and I thought that I had to continue doing it. You know what I mean? And that's why it was so hard for me to quit because it was my entire life. It was, you know, my mom was a single mom. She put everything into that sport for me. She cleaned the gym to get me into practice because we could barely afford it, you know? And so letting go of that and all of the hard work was like identity.
A lot of guilt.
Death to me. Guilt for sure.
So much guilt.
And I don't think art was ever really a focus because nobody tells you can be a full-time artist. Like you go to school and it's just like one class. Nobody tells you that this is something that you can create with your life. And I took a jewelry class in high school. That was my one art class that I took my senior year. And I loved it and I was so good at it. But nobody looked at me and was like, you should try and do this for a living. You should try and sell this. That was never like an opportunity for me or presented to me as an option. And so on autopilot, I was like, oh, I like math and science. I'll go
Yes,
pre-med,
that makes sense.
And so I got this pre-med degree And I hated it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was no passion in it. And
You were good at it.
I was good at it.
Mhm.
I was thinking logically, not like with my heart, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's super important for me that my audience, my younger audience, even my age audience or older, that you have to try new things. Even when someone has told you, one of my sons is in art school,
Yeah.
and we definitely tell him you can make money at selling art. And so what I like to bring in the podcast is that you can, just because you didn't have it from your parent, because not for any nefarious reason. It's never too late.
Never too late.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that question. And we'll just keep on going. Marika, I think that there comes a time, anytime that we start or we've been doing something for a long time. And with you, I would say art would be a good thing. You've been doing this consistently for a while. What part of the art process do you find enjoyable? What part of it do you find difficult? How do you stop burnout? I know I asked you 3 questions, but it kind of, it's got.
Let's start with the most enjoyable part of the process. I love photo shoots. I love putting the final pieces on, seeing the whole collection come together, seeing all of your work come together, the hard work that you put in over days, weeks, months, whatever it may be. And just seeing it all, like all that final piece come together, the vision come together. The hardest part of the process, for me specifically, I work with resin. There are toxins involved. So when I work, I have to wear a respirator and gloves, and there's a lot of precautions that are taken. And so, if I were just painting and didn't have to wear all of that gear, I think I would enjoy that part a lot more. But yeah, my least favorite part of the process is probably the actual making of it because of
You're protective.
the precaution aspect of it. And then, what was the third question?
Burnout.
Burnout. Oh,
That's a hard one because I think you can experience burnout 3 months, 6 months. It's like a loop. It'll repeat.
Yeah, I think that this question is really hard to answer because I think that everybody experiences phases where they need to stop making for a little bit and recalibrate, find themselves again, because we're always changing, we're always growing, and what used to work last year, 2 years, 3 years ago may not work anymore, and that may be experienced as burnout. It also just is like recalibration and figuring out where you are at this part of life and not like shaming yourself for that and being okay with taking a break for a little bit. And I would say that this past year was the first time I experienced that. The first 3 years of my business, I was cruising. There was no downtime. It was almost every day I was making something and everything would sell within minutes. And so I didn't really experience much burnout because there was so much reward. But then a down period came where, I was evolving. It didn't feel like me anymore. It wasn't selling as it used to. And that to me was kind of like experiencing burnout where I needed to take some time off and find myself again and find inspiration again. And I think it's okay to go through phases like that. I also don't think anybody's made to production make art for their entire life. Do you know what I mean?
That's really absurd. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you don't think it because you think of artists and like Picasso, he did it art forever, Michelangelo, art forever. And so.
But nobody talks about the days that they took off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that there were days, weeks, months that they took off.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it takes away from you being an artist. It's just another phase of life that you have to learn to navigate without shame or guilt and just figuring out who you are at this next step,
I love it. I love that perspective. Thank you. Okay. This one is one that, is going to bring on those shame feeling questions. And, not everybody is a fan of art and not everybody's a fan of all art. How do you handle criticism now versus how you handled it when you first started? In the feelings.
I think this is part of entrepreneurship in general. A lot of the time is you need to learn to not take everybody's opinion and that sometimes it's just business, you know what I mean? And not taking it personally. And when I first started, I definitely took it personally. There were thousands of comments of people of this art will never last. This is crap. This is just plastic trash, you know what I mean? People do get really mean in the comments, but at the same time, like, who cares? You know, you're making something for you, and if people like it and they want to buy it, you know, all the more to them as well. And I'm grateful for everybody who supported me in my art journey, but I don't think you should be making anything for anybody else. It's for you. And I think if you're making things authentically for you, the people who are attracted to you will naturally come. And I love the block button. I love that block button.
Block button.
You know, like, just get them out of your world. They don't need to be there. If they're not going to appreciate it and they're coming from a place of negativity, like, you don't need to entertain that. You don't even need to respond. You don't need to be defensive of your art. You just need to stay firm in your beliefs as long as you're in your own values. And if you're triggered by something, maybe it is deep down there's a value that is, you know, that you're crossing of yours, and you need to reestablish what those values are and make sure you're abiding by them yourself. And so it's all just more learning along the way. But yeah, I just get the negativity out of the world and move on.
Okay, so we're going to go kind of into the clinical here. Okay, you're hormonal, you have started your business, and life is just really difficult right now. And someone has come into your inbox, and you normally can just be like, yeah, I make this art for myself. But on this day, you're really struggling. How do you get yourself out of that? On the day when you can't talk yourself out of it, how have you developed into the artist and to the healing person that you are today? How do you get out of that?
I think it's really important to have community around you. Nobody can do this alone. I've always had mentors. I have always paid coaches or have other entrepreneurs in my sphere that I can go to and say, hey, I'll literally text my friend Luis and be like, I need a mental health check today. And we'll FaceTime and I'll walk through whatever issues are going on in my head. We'll sort it out and come to a plan of like how we're going to move forward that feels good in my body again. And it's not about sitting in the feeling, you know what I mean? It's about releasing the feeling and being like, okay, I don't have to be the feeling. I can experience it, let it move through me, and then find a solution that feels good in my body to continue on this path with. And, you know, he's an entrepreneur as well. And we experience a lot of the same, you know, hate, mean comments, things that you're never going to please everybody, but you also have to learn to like laugh it off too. You know what I mean? It's not all that serious.
So when you say community, you know, you said you moved out here 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So now I'm new in the community and I don't have a community. What did you do to push yourself out of that? Where'd you go? Where were the places that because I do hear that. It's like, well, I don't want to go to a bar. Well, you shouldn't go to the bar. And I don't want to go to the library. Okay, well, you don't go to the library. Where would you go and find the people that you want to be surrounded by?
For me, markets were the first place that I found community as an entrepreneur, because there's a bunch of like-minded people who are learning to sell their art, their craft, their service, whatever the case may be. So they're relatable in the same place that you are. But I think it comes a time where you outgrow those things as well. And social media, honestly, like I found so many beautiful people on social media. I've found coaches that I trust with my life on social media. I found some of like my deepest friendships from followers that have like supported my art. You know, they have 10, 15, 20 pairs of my earrings, and they just become, you know, family almost to me. And so I think that you just have to put yourself out there. It doesn't matter where you're putting yourself out there. You just have to do it. You know, it's either getting out of the house or putting your content out into the world and letting people find you, because the universe is going to bring you the people, but you can't just like sit at home and do nothing, you know?
Yeah. But it's true what you said about that community, getting that other perspective, the other person. There was a time I think I do kind of white knuckle it. I do kind of try to just navigate it because I don't want to put it on someone else.
Yeah.
But like there was a time when I'd called my friend and she goes, well, I think with you, the first thing we should start with is food. And it was, and I would never have thought of that on my own. I would have done the breathing. I would have done all of the tools that I had. But my friend, she was the one that was like, what about food? Have you eaten? And I was like, oh, that probably would help. So it's true. You know, you do when you're struggling.
We get stuck in our own world sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But our world is not the true reality of what's going on. Yeah. And so sometimes we do need an outside perspective, whether it's a paid outside perspective of a therapist, of a coach, of somebody who has been there already and can see something maybe that you don't see already, can encourage you in ways that you can't encourage yourself because you just haven't lived it yet, you know? So just having people you look up to. I mean, I love having people in the room that like I know are in the place that I want to be, and I can look up to them and learn from them. not being the smartest person in the room, making sure that
And they're
you're empowering
Yeah.
and just always learning, you know, putting yourself in places, whether it's like a networking event or even just like walking around an art fair and just like walking up to an artist that you really like and starting a conversation with them. That's how you build community. You just have to put yourself out there a little bit.
For sure. I just signed up for a coaching and I haven't been able to, just with work. I've been busy, but I wasn't going to hold off. I've just had to put it aside. And once everything slows down, I'm going to really jump into this coaching group that I joined. And I was telling my husband, I'm like, there's these entrepreneur women groups in Dallas. And I'd looked at them 2 years ago, but I was like, what am I ever going to have anything in common with them? But I still followed them. I'm still lurking in the pages. And now I'm like, oh, I think I was setting myself up for this and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm going to go find women that are like-minded and
it's okay to go and not like it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I've been to so many events, had so many coaches that I'm like, this is not the vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's all just part of the learning process. There's even coaches that I paid thousands of dollars to that I felt like I didn't necessarily get something out of it, but you do get something out of it.
Yeah.
And you just have to find the thing, whatever that learning lesson is, and move forward. It's never a mistake. You know what I mean? It may feel hard in the moment, but it's not like, it's all part of the process. And investing in yourself is really big.
It's the only thing that you should do. Invest in yourself like first, and then it just comes naturally. You can invest in others when you do that. I do know that. That's like fact. Invest in yourself and then you can give it out to others.
Invest in yourself and also just like keep your spidey senses up. Like really trust yourself when you're around people because not everybody has good intentions. And I learned that really hard this past year with giving my power away to people in scenarios that weren't necessarily the best for me. I was expecting them to bring me the next level when in reality, I'm the only one that can bring that next level to myself. And I spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and, you know, a lot of energy on things that didn't really benefit me in the past couple of years because they kind of like were ego boosters. Like I did New York Fashion Week for my art and I was like, this is the most incredible experience that I could ever have. But in reality, it didn't bring me any sales. You know what I mean? It was strictly for the ego. And although those things can be good for your business, I think it's really, you have to like make sure what are the expectations that I have for this? Is it sales or is it just to get exposure for my business? And really managing those expectations because I thought I was going to be like this world famous artist after this. You know what I mean? I thought this was
I know exactly what you mean.
Look, of my life and nothing came from it. And the person who invited me just took advantage of me. And she wasn't there to help me in any way. She was just there to help herself. And I didn't realize that in the moment. I was just like, oh my God, this is New York Fashion Week. This is an opportunity, you know? And so I find the smaller events, the ones that you curate yourself with your energy and your vision are way more worth it than the big lights in action and like name brand things that you can do out there. Like a small time fashion show where you curate everything, you have your own photographer that you trust and the vision is yours will get you way more results than a big show like that you might invest like thousands and thousands of dollars into.
Yeah. And it might not even be authentic. The relationship that you get with this person, you might be like, well, now I made a connection and I don't even really align with them, but I've made this great connection. And now you found yourself in a situation that you really didn't want to in the beginning, but
it
was opportunity.
So good,
it was like, opportunity.
You have these flashing lights and this person that claims that they're this incredible person that's going to help you. And I mean, I was promised Good Morning America interviews. I was promised like all of these big opportunities that never happened. I was promised billboards. Not a single thing, not a single picture was posted. You know what I mean? Like I got nothing out of it.
That's so hard.
And so it was like big learning opportunity for me on my end of like, okay, the ego opportunities are not going to pay off. You know, like they look cool on the outside. They're really not going to do anything for your business, you know, on the inside and for your confidence on the inside, especially if you have that gut feeling from the beginning that this is not the right opportunity and you're just doing it for the ego.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way. That's a really good perspective. I mean, we do know when we're doing it for the ego. We definitely you do know. But we have to be able to acknowledge that that's what this is.
Yeah, and it's okay to do things for the ego, but you have to have that expectation ahead of time that it's it's just to feel good. It's not necessarily something that's going to really transform your life. That.
That. Well, thank you for that perspective. We're going to keep on going. This one is one of my personal favorite questions. It's not real in depth, but it was pondersome to me when I thought, if I created your art, which I told you, my audience doesn't know, but I started following Marika's art page, Blossom in Love, because I was obsessed with your purses. And I thought they were so unique. They were so beautiful. You can do them in different styles. They could be casual. You could dress it up. You could wear it haute couture. Like, you literally can wear it with nothing and be like, hello, husband. Hello, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, like, this is my outfit. But I was obsessed with that. And when I came across you and you said, oh yeah, I have a page, Blossom in Love. And I was like, I already follow you. And so it was just natural. But now that I have you here, what do you do with the art that you fall in love with and that you want to keep? Do you keep it or do you let it go?
Yeah, I think that I've kept a lot of my pieces and I just wear them all the time myself. I definitely have my favorites. Like, I have a chamomile chainmail top that I wear every chance I get. I'll probably wear it later for the second half of this interview. And I have pieces that I fall in love with, but a lot of the time I'll wear it out once to get some content for it and then give it to the person that it's meant to be given to. Yeah.
Have you ever made anything for someone and then been like, no, I'll make them something else, and then kept that one?
I don't think so, because I always know I can make it again,
Yeah.
Unless it's like a super rare flower that I know I can't get my hands on again. Yeah, I don't think I've ever made something and been like, no, I'm going to keep this for myself instead. It's usually just the things that haven't sold, and I'm like, yeah, I'll just keep it.
Are there any particular, so when you just said about flowers, it made me think of this question. Do you go out and say, I'm looking for lilies today? Or do you just see what is out, what speaks to you?
Yeah, I think flowers are super seasonal. So whatever is there is kind of what you get, whatever colors are available. And I think it's right place, right time kind of thing. Divine timing, you were supposed to find this flower at this time. And sometimes I hold on to flowers for weeks or months at a time because I haven't felt inspired to make something with them yet. And it just, whenever I feel like making something or feel like going to get flowers, I just kind of do it and trust that I was supposed to be doing that because I wanted to,
Yeah. Where do you find your flowers?
I love Trader Joe's. It's like my number one.
Okay, so you do shop. Okay, so have you ever sourced your flowers in the wild?
I do. I come out here sometimes and I'll pick like little wildflowers and things like that. But to be honest with you, like the little wildflower things don't sell as much as like orchids and some of just like the more common flowers that you find in the grocery store. And so a lot of people ask me like where I get my flowers and, do I source them from special places? And I really don't. I just go to the grocery store and whatever I see, I'm like, okay, let's make something out of this week,
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Okay, guys, Marika and I are going to wrap it up here, head back to our hotels and get washed up. We have another interview tonight for the podcast, and I'm excited to really get into Marika's story tonight. What did you think about the hike?
Perfect day. It was absolutely beautiful.
It was.
Good company. Can't ask for anything better.
Great conversation, beautiful views. I can't wait for y'all to see it, and I cannot wait to get the interview shot tonight.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited.